Alright guys, so here with another video for tonight. It's going to be a little bit longer than my normal couple minute videos, but one thing is I've always been interested in the photo you've seen here. I just never took the time to actually find out what it was. I thought somebody was just actually trying to sketch up if they created a UFO, what it would actually look like. But the other night, there's a channel called the Y-Files, and what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description to their video. They did a video discussing a little bit on ARVs, in their construction of them, how this actual photo came about, and actually gave a lot of information on these, and then also on the artist that drew this and the people that actually saw this particular vehicle. So it's a very good episode. The episode was actually so good, I actually donated money to their channel. I thought they did a great job on that. So if you can, go over there and check it out, and just subscribe to their channel anyway, because they do have some great content that's been coming. I've been following them for a little bit over a year and a half, so I know you guys have mentioned it, but I already follow them and I already see some of their information. But they do a good job of looking at stuff, investigating it, and their team does a good job of just putting some good information of facts and then truth together, and then presenting their case at the end. So with that, this ARV design and now actually knowing what it is, I wanted to briefly take a look at a couple of videos I've posted up on my channel, and some I still have yet to post up, because it makes me think twice about what we actually have out there. Some of this stuff could be CGI, some of it could be old, some of it may have been debunked, as we kind of say, but it makes me wonder, since that design for that ARV was out in the, as we know, the early 1950s, what have they been constructing since then? I mean, I've showed you guys several video clips, as you guys are seeing here, of UFOs, UAPs, or even ARVs. We need to start putting that, I believe, into our terminology. Maybe that's the reason why the government hasn't said anything, because they're not unidentified objects or anything like that. Maybe they've already identified them and we're just actually presenting our case to them incorrectly. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of stuff out there that we've done, I believe, that we've actually created and replicated and put out there, and that's a lot of stuff that we're probably seeing, and even reverse engineering. You guys see in some of these videos here, because why would a civilization, if they travel hundreds of thousands of millions of billions of miles, just have one craft sitting up here floating around for us to just film out in broad daylight and some at night? So there is something going on. So what I wanted to do kind of in this video was look a little bit closer at this ARV design, and give you guys some information from some video clips I've seen, because I was always curious on how it functioned and how it worked. And then, as always, put your comments down below as you're watching this video and give some of your thoughts on this. So let's go ahead and let's jump into this particular ARV vehicle.
These discs were hovering off the floor without any visible means of support. They were referred to as alien reproduction vehicles, also nicknamed the flux liner because they used high voltage electricity. This is a diagram that I made based on a sketch that Brad Sorensen did for me in rough form, and subsequently cleaned that drawing up and made it much more accurate.
Okay, so basically that's how this illustration came about, but I was always curious about the functionality of it. And I think we, as just human beings and people, we make things very, very complicated. And here's a clip talking about that too, because I think we just do that sometimes.
to me about how the components related, and I had, your stereotypical sort of lens-shaped, flying saucer like you see in, more modern movies and stuff. And he said, "Oh no, this is real simple. It's flat on the bottom, sloping sides like a section taken out of a cone, a little ledge, and then a dome on the top." He said the dome is actually the top half of a crew compartment that's like a big ball. I'm pretty sure that was about 12 feet in diameter. There's a central column that goes down through the middle. There's like a flywheel thing on it that, maybe, 6 to 9 feet in diameter. There's 4 ejection seats that are all back to back on this central column above the flywheel type thing. And he says a bunch of oxygen tanks in there that are all around the bottom. And he said the bottom is this huge capacitor array. It's probably, maybe 12 to 14 inches thick. It's shaved off at an angle on the edges, looked like it had been put on a big giant milling machine, and they milled off the edges at a 35-degree angle. He said there's a series of these plate capacitors.
So basically from that, this thing is nothing but a modified Tesla coil with a little bit more innovation, so I'm not going to try to make it that simple. But you guys see this construction here, and I mean it's very, very simple, and they did this in the 50s, so we can say it's simple nowadays. But back in the 1950s, it was probably revolutionary, which it still is today, especially if this thing can go the speed of light like they talk about it being able to go. So this next clip is going to talk a little bit about more of how the center of the vortex moves and stuff in the craft, and then I'm going to just kind of paraphrase or just simply overview some of the functionality and how this craft actually works, because that was kind of my curiosity, was how does this thing move back and forth, up and down, if it doesn't move kind of like the craft that we've seen what Bob Lazar termed as far as the sports model is concerned.
One of the things that they describe when you read up on the literature surrounding these so-called Vimanas was the so-called Mercury vortex or Mercury turbine engine.
I see the word Vimana. Can you describe how that relates?
Well, this is something that I spent a lot of time reading up about the so-called Mercury turbine generators or Mercury vortex generators described in some of these ancient Sumerian texts. And so I started looking at the possibility that there had to be some kind of circulation going on in the Mercury itself. So that was the kind of thing that I visualized would be going on inside the chamber.
All right, so basically there's going to be, in this particular craft, you see that lever that's kind of highlighted there, that seems to regulate the power for this craft. Now there's a little bit more, I guess it's a little bit more complicated than what I'm kind of explaining here. I'm trying to make it somewhat easy just for us to understand. And then you have this like cylinder ball that you can actually use to maneuver the craft. It's going to be up, down, left, right, or whatever with it, which was pretty interesting in itself, because as you guys can see here, the diagrams and stuff, if you tilt it forward, it does this, you tilt it back, it does that, and XYZ, and it actually tilts the craft and leans the craft in the direction that it needs to go. So it is a lot different than the sport model, but the functionality is still somewhat the same as far as its maneuverability. And so it would look like it functions like a helicopter would, as far as when a helicopter turns to left or right. You have that big rotor at the top that actually helps navigate the helicopter to the left and to the right, which is going to be a lot different somewhat than what we see of the sport model. Now, we don't know everything about this other craft that functions, but you guys know from some of the Bob Lazar lectures that he talks about how the craft actually bends gravity in front of it. It distorts basically the gravity force in front of it and actually brings gravity and stuff to it, which is pretty interesting with that. And then it also has those 3 amplifiers underneath it. I think he said there was 2 different modes that they function in that actually helps navigate the craft around. Alright y'all, so this was just some of the basic information of this. I'm going to work on a video where I'm going to go a little bit more in depth with this particular vehicle, and then also do a comparisons to what we know of from the sport model that Bob Lazar defined as the sport model that he worked at Area 51, the S4 section of Area 51, because I think that's going to be pretty interesting, and I may go live and do that so we can kind of communicate back and forth, but I got to get some more equipment set up. But I at least wanted to show this to you guys, let you guys know kind of about the Wi-Files too, because they have some great information on their channel pertaining to this and other things too. And then curious about some of your comments or some of your thoughts on this particular vehicle and kind of what we're seeing nowadays. So anyway, don't forget to comment below, don't forget to like or dislike, share this with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video. And as always, I appreciate you guys watching, and I do read all your comments. So thanks guys, and see you in the next video.